Good evening, everyone. My name is Jean-Jacques Ondoua, student in Business 604, Fundamentals of Business Analysis with American Military University. Today, we are going to discuss sensitivity analysis and risk management as a part of our class. Without further notice, we're going to go to slide number 2 to introduce the subject. Sensitivity analysis can be defined as a tool to measure the impact of small changes in input variables on a model output. Just to be precise, sensitivity analysis can be performed on a microeconomic level as well as a macroeconomic level. Microeconomics, you can work on it on the company's level, meaning you can look into some of the variable that can influence the performance of a company. You can look into the effect of prices, stock exchange rates, labor, and other variables that can impact the performance of a company. But it can also be done on a macroeconomic level where we're looking at larger aggregates that influence the economy as a whole. Today, we'll focus on a local sensitivity analysis on a microeconomic level, meaning on the companies and business, small companies level. The importance of sensitivity analysis in finance, it helps in assessing risk exposure and making informed decisions for various business stakeholders. You're talking about investors, we're talking about creditors, we're talking about business managers and everyone that might find themselves into a business venture. The objective is to understand how to perform a local sensitivity analysis and integrate financial risk management at each steps. Step number one, by the way, we will have multiple steps here. We'll go from steps 1 to step 5. And step number 1 is to define a financial model. I would like to say that there are multiple type of models that you can use. We can use a mathematical model, we can use a statistical model, and even a computational model. When you define your computational, mathematical, statistical model, you have to define the one that is best suited for your sensitivity analysis. An example would be a value at risk model for portfolio risk. And the risk management integration here is to ensure that the model captures relevant financial risks such as market, credit, and operational risk. Step number 2 is to identify key variable inputs. Here you determine the critical inputs that drive the model outcome. In the same example of the portfolio analysis, portfolio risk management, you will define, for example, your interest rates, stock prices, exchange rates, and so forth. In this step number 2, you will focus on inputs with high uncertainty and volatility using historical data and expert judgment. In terms of risk management integration during this step, this means, to be more precise, you will focus on elements that can change the outcome significantly. If you know, for example, the cost of labor in a construction company is pretty stable, you will not focus necessarily on the cost of labor. But one thing you might know is that the interest rate, for example, from creditors, or the exchange rate, if you are multinational, can be changed or can be influenced somehow in your model. Then you include that variable in your model. Step number 3, you will apply small perturbations, which is also referred at stressing the model and seeing the outcome. So here, in step number 3, you will introduce small changes to each input variable while keeping the other constant. An example would be to increase interest rate by 0.5% and observe the effect on bond prices. During this step, you will also use stress testing techniques to simulate real-world risk scenario. As you stress in your model, and let's say you are increasing the interest rate, you need to ensure that the way you're stressing the model makes sense in the reality of actually what happens. If you are working in the real estate market, for example, and you know that interest rate, for example, historically in the last 10, 20 years have not changed from one band of maybe they went from 2% to 10%, you cannot stress the model by increasing the interest rate, for example, to 12% or 15%, because that, for example, would be out of the normal range of what has historically happened. So your changes on the variable have to make sense with the reality of based on real facts and based on historical data. Step number 4 is measure output changes. Here you will record changes in the input resulting from input variation. An example is sensitivity portfolio returns to changes in stock price. So here you run your model. From step 3, you made some changes, in your interest rate changes, and then it tells you how this affects your stock prices in your company. As you running through step number 4, you want to evaluate risk exposure by identifying the most impactful variable on financial stability. Let's say you end up with 5 variables and you've stressed the model by changing, small changes in variables of all 5 variables, and you recorded changes. You will be able now to determine which one of the 5 variables has the most impact on your financial stability of your company. Step number 5, which is the last step, is to make an interpretation of result and take action. Remember, the goal of not financial analysis, but the goal of sensitivity analysis is to make informed decisions and make informed decision for successful operation or successful performance of a company. The analysis here of the sensitivity result is to make informed decisions, like we just said. If portfolio sensitivity to exchange rate, for example, is high, consider hedging strategies. And some of the hedging strategy might be buying derivatives from your company. You can perform a portfolio diversification, interest rate hedging, or even using options and volatility indicators. During these steps, use your finding to adjust your risk mitigation measures and strategies like diversification, hedging, or capital allocation. In conclusion, local sensitivity analysis is essential for identifying and managing financial risk. Some of the key takeaways are: it helps quantify financial exposure to small changes in key inputs, supports better decision making, risk and management, enhance resilience against market fluctuation, integration of sensitivity analysis into financial risk management, improve financial stability and strategic planning. We also want to conclude by saying that during these steps, as you can see, we've used a various number of methods, quantitative methods and also qualitative methods. Quantitative methods, for example, where our model that we use, which can be mathematical, and then qualitative methods, we mentioned that market analysis and everything that has to do with assessing risk and understanding some of the quality aspect that can influence the performance of a specific portfolio. With that, we're going to conclude our presentation. Again, I am Jean-Jacques, student in Business Fundamentals 604, Fundamental Business Analysis. It was great discussing this subject with you. I hope to see you soon. Thank you.